I think the first thing that most potters will tell you is that they felt love at first touch, and it definitely was no different for me. The first time you feel clay spin through your hands, it was one of those feelings that the whole world just goes quiet around you. And as you learn to bring the clay under your control, you just get more and more hooked the better you get, until it finally feels like it's the only place you have any sort of control at all.
My name is David Moldover, and I'm a potter. Along with my wife Jenny, we own and operate the Newburgh Pottery here in Newburgh, New York.
I took my first pottery class my last semester of college. That was a long trip in itself. I had dropped out once, transferred twice. I was looking for something, didn't know what, until I found it that last semester. I didn't sign up for it because I had some passion for tableware, for mugs and bowls and teapots that I never thought twice about mugs and bowls and teapots. I had an open elective and I thought it sounded fun. But what I ended up finding changed my life completely. Didn't just find my future career, I found my future wife, future mother of my daughter, found mentors, and I found friends, and I found community, and I found something to bring my life into focus and something to devote my life to. Spring break of that semester, Nick took us to Salem Artworks in Salem, New York, to a wood firing. It was the first time that I was around working potters, working artists and sculptors in the wild. And these people to me seemed content, they seemed passionate, they seemed like they loved their lives. All I could take away from that was it's possible. And if they could do it, why not me? So I started going to work for little studios in the city. First, I got hooked up with a job at the college after I graduated. I would go to whatever part-time job I was working, and then I would go back to the studio afterwards and mop the floors and do whatever grunt work needed to be done. In exchange, I got studio space and materials. Eventually, I had enough experience to get a paying job at another little studio in Brooklyn, a little bit more responsibility, learned a little bit more. Eventually, I worked my way up the studio ladder, and I was managing and teaching at the largest privately owned studio in New York City at the time, Newburgh Pottery in Chelsea. That journey keeps your head down, you know, there's so much to learn, it's so all like absorbing, and it kind of just takes over your life. And you know, I think eventually I lifted my head up and realized that I was surrounded by other people having similar epiphanies, and that I had formed friendships and relationships in those studios without even realizing or trying, because you have this neutral playing field, this common ground in these studios that everybody's exploring together, and bonds form deep and unexpectedly. So for someone who was in New York, which is such a big city, you have a tendency to feel alone, even though there's so many people around you. It's hard to find that sense of community in a big city. And eventually I realized that I had found it, and I didn't even realize it, that I had found a place where I belonged, and I had found my people. That was just as important of a realization to me as discovering the craft in the first place, is discovering that I had found a community, which is something that I didn't even realize I was lacking. On one of our first dates, Jenny and I started fantasizing about opening our own studio one day. Jenny kind of grew up in community studios and wanted to build that kind of community herself. And 10 years later, we were introduced to Newburgh. When we moved up to Newburgh, when we found Newburgh, we fell in love with Newburgh instantly. This city is everything, you know, we ever wanted. We thought we were bringing a community to a city, but what we found was a community that was willing to welcome us. And it really caught us off guard. We're in a neighborhood now. Our shop is in a neighborhood where you walk around and you know the different shop owners and the different people working at those shops, and you know the locals in the neighborhood. So really we came here to build a community, but there was already a community, and it welcomed us with open arms. And I still get messages regularly. I'll get emails from people wanting to move to the area but want to make sure that there's a pottery studio there for them first. I'm a lucky person. You know, we're lucky people because every one of our customers comes in and is having the best part of their day when they come to us. Our studio, our business is our customers' happiest place to be in a lot of cases. No one comes to a pottery studio to have a bad time. No one's upset that they're there. I get to see people at their best, doing what they love. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. You know, it shouldn't be taken for granted, ever. That's what we're providing. That's the real service that we're providing, is people's happiest place. I think a lot of potters think about their legacy. Potters especially, because our work doesn't go anywhere. And I think that's a really strong idea in a lot of our heads, is that the things we make are going to outlive us. And we hope to leave some sort of lasting impression. And if one of my pots gets dug up in 1,000 years, and I do leave pots, I hide them all over the place, under rocks, and all buried and thrown into rivers and left in random places. Maybe they'll be found in 1,000 years. Who knows? If something gets found in 1,000 years and gets put into a museum, that would be great. But I don't think it'll be my most important thing that I've done with my life. If I can share this process with someone, and they share it with someone, and they share it with someone, and if the torch can keep getting passed, and people can keep appreciation for this process alive beyond me, if someone that I teach surpasses me and achieves things that I didn't achieve, I think that's the legacy that I want to leave behind. And that's important to me, because this studio wasn't just built by me. This is a collaboration. This is something that Jenny and I will both leave behind. And I think that is more important than the pots that are going to outlive me. When you watch someone throw, it just seems like magic. When you watch someone who knows what they're doing do it. It's not. It's the most logical process I've ever approached. The wheel just spins. It's all it does. It spins perfectly. The clay on the wheel, that's recording you. That's recording every touch and every movement. Every time I touch that clay, when it's spinning, it's recording it. If my motions are strong and confident and graceful, my work is strong and confident and graceful. If I'm off-centered and wobbly, my work will be off-centered and wobbly. So it comes down to you. So to train to be a potter, you have to train yourself. You have to learn the motions. You have to get confident with those motions. The same exact way a musician will train. A musician, if you're learning guitar, you have to learn the notes on the fretboard. You have to learn how to hold your fingers, and you have to train your fingers to find those chords. And once you've built the muscle memory in your hands to find the notes that you need to find, you need to understand music theory. You have to understand music as a language so you can communicate with those notes. And you have to put rhythm and timing behind it. You can hit the notes perfectly, but if it's not in the right rhythm, if it's not in the right tempo, it's not a song. I approach the wheel the same exact way. I have to build the muscle memory in my hands and in my body. And then I need to find the rhythm of the wheel, and I need to move with that rhythm. And I have to understand forms and how to make the clay go where I want it to go. And I like it that way, because I can control myself. If I'm lacking, then I can train myself to the point where I can do it. You know, if you're not strong enough, or fast enough, you just keep working until you are. And so it's an introspective process. You're responsible, and so it's about focusing on yourself. I don't consider myself an artist. I don't say that to belittle what I do. I just don't think of myself as an artist. I think I personally make useful objects. I'm devoted to a material and a process, and I work within it. And I think that's what craft is. Craft is material and process driven. I try not to over-romanticize what I make. I really do think it's just a mug or a bowl or a vase. If I break it, it breaks. I do romanticize the process and the history and the culture of this craft, but not so much the objects themselves. I actually feel like the pots I'm making are the least important part of what I'm doing. It's like a happy byproduct of my process. I think the community I'm building, the potters that I'm teaching, I think that's the most important thing I do. And when I sit at the wheel, that's when I'm alive. That's when I'm the most in control, and that's when I'm the happiest, is when I have that clay spinning through my hands. But the pot that I'm making isn't as important as the feeling that I have when I'm making it. I'm not trying to make you feel anything or think about anything with what I'm doing. I want to make something that you'll use, and make an object that's going to take up a place in somebody's home or life. And if they appreciate all the time and the work that went into training myself to do that, that's great. But at the same time, if that object's so well made that it fits seamlessly into your home without drawing much attention or thought, then that's almost even better. If you pick up that mug and it's so comfortable to hold, if that handle is so comfortable to hold, and if that piece is so balanced, and if that rim is comfortable to put to your lips, and if it all just works seamlessly and perfectly to the point where you're not even really thinking about it, you're just enjoying it, then that's even better. It's not about anything but that. It's just an object that's meant to be useful. If it's uncomfortable, you'll think about it more. If it's perfect, you really shouldn't think about it that much at all until it's gone. And then you'll miss it. And that's when I know I've done something good.